Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside LSU Baseball. I'm your host, Jason Armstrong, coming off of a series loss to the Texas Longhorns. You might expect me to be down in the dumps, frustrated, got a million questions and doubts about this team. You may be surprised to know that as I reflect, dig into the numbers, go back, watch the games, and just think about some of the things that took place over the weekend, I'm actually very optimistic. Now, that might not surprise you because by nature, I'm very optimistic when it comes to LSU baseball. But I truly believed it, that there were some valuable lessons learned. And when I go through some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, I think you might see that it was not as bad as it might have felt yesterday when game 3 wrapped up. So, as I mentioned, LSU drops the series to Texas in Austin, Texas. LSU was riding a 17-game win streak after Friday night. Texas wound up taking the next two games. And really, this was a tale of like you could cut this series right in half. And LSU controlled the first 13 and a half innings of the series. LSU did. Texas controlled the second 13 and a half innings of the series. And I'll kind of go through that so you see what I'm talking about. But after a dominant game 1 win by LSU, they actually entered the bottom of the 5th inning in game 2 with a 5-2 lead. So after winning, really, there was never a doubt game 1. You're halfway through game 2 and you've got a 5-2 lead. From there, everything changed. Texas really they took the momentum, and then Sunday was really it was never in doubt for Texas. But on the weekend, look, I talked a lot about this in the preview. Texas has some really good offensive pieces. And they hit. It wasn't like they killed the ball. Now, they had some good performances, but when you throw in, I guess, Friday night, the numbers kind of even out. Texas hit 296 over 3 games compared to LSU hitting 279. Now, the big difference was that Texas's 2 through 5 hitters, you're talking about Max Ballou, Jalen Flores, Rylan Galvan, and Adrian Rodriguez, they were killers. Killers. Collectively, they were 18 for 48 with a triple and 4 home runs and I think 13 RBIs. So their best players were better than our best players. That's just what it comes down to. All 4 of those guys were just really good for them. And ultimately, it's hard to win on the road in the SEC, and they got the series. So I know it didn't feel too good because it really, after Friday night, looked like this was a series LSU was going to come out on top, but that's just how it goes sometimes. So first thing I want to do is just summarize the series by pointing out some of the key moments in each of the games that really had a major influence on the outcome. And then we'll kind of get into some of the second guessing, the questioning, and just kind of like where we go from here. So game 1 was all about Cade Anderson and Zach Cowan. And that combination is as good as it gets on Friday night. Too bad that, this baseball isn't played on a 1-game type of deal where, hey, you play 1 game best on best. Because if that happened, I truly believe LSU is better than anybody in the country, anyone. With Cade Anderson, Zach Cowan, and LSU's offense, I think they're as good as anybody, if not better. But unfortunately, that's just not how it works. So, but looking at game 1, Texas scored a run in the 3rd inning on 3 singles, and 2 of those, were with 2 outs. And then Rylan Galvan hit a solo homer in the 6th inning, and that was all she wrote for Texas. That was their 2 runs. Luis Hernandez was really great for him because it's not who I was expecting to in a big spot right there to hit a 2-run home run in the 4th inning after you really didn't do anything for 3 innings against Jared Spencer. The offense wasn't doing a whole lot, and Luis Hernandez comes through off of his former teammate with a 2-run home run, and I loved it. When he hit it, the way he just stood and looked at it was like, wait a second. I didn't get that vibe from the way that the ball sounded or looked coming off the bat, but he convinced me that this ball's got a chance of going out. So that put LSU up 2-1. LSU added to the 2-1 lead in the 5th inning. Pearson had a sac fly. And then Hernandez had another 2-out RBI single. So LSU was up 4-1. LSU piled it on. They scored 4 more runs in the 7th inning of game 1. Braswell got involved, Stanfield, Jones. All of these guys had drove in a run to make it 8-2. And then Zach Cowan through the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th inning. And again, he was incredible. He faced 2 batters over the minimum and after making quick work of the first 2 batters that he faced in the 7th inning, Stephen Milam booted a ball, which is very uncharacteristic for him. Max Ballou then singled. And then the next 7 batters that Cowan faced were retired. And what was really impressive was only the first batter he faced saw a 3-ball count. So out of the 11 batters that Zach Cowan faced, one of them saw a 3-ball count. And that was, I believe it was Gasparino, the first batter he faced. And that was an 8-pitch at bat where, he fouled off a couple of pitches. I think Cowan had like a waste pitch. So, he was just so good. Cowan is elite. He's really good. And I think that coming over from Wofford, there was a lot of talk about how would this guy who throws 90 miles an hour do against SEC hitters? And I don't think there's any doubt anymore, regardless of who he is facing, the guy can pitch. He's elite. And it's not the speed. It's his changeup. The best pitchers always have a changeup in their arsenal, in my opinion, unless you're Hagen Smith, who throws 99 with a wipeout slider, or Paul Skeens, who throws 100 with a slider. Most guys don't have that luxury. And when you have a changeup, the best ones for the most part, do. Sometimes in college you can get away with 2 pitches, but he's just good. He's really good. And game 1, Luis Hernandez received the magic moment. He went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a home run. LSU out hit Texas 13-8. So, I think the big question that people were asking after game 1 was, did Jay Johnson leave in Zach Cowan too long? Because he threw, I think his final line was 3 innings that he threw, and I think it was 8-2 when he came in the game, and that's when the game finished. So did he stay in too long because maybe you wanted to use him later on in the series? And the answer, as far as I'm concerned, is no. In my opinion, after seeing those 3 games unfold, would you really have felt comfortable pulling Zach Cowan for another reliever? Because, look, maybe you could have pulled him in the 9th, up 8-2, but that really wouldn't have changed the next 2 games anyway. Game 2 or game 3, when I go through the games, I think you'll see it really wouldn't have changed anything. But look, it is very hard to win a game, especially on the road in the SEC. If you have an opportunity to win the game, you win it. You win it. Think of all the times last year Griffin Herron came in and finished games. You didn't pull him in the last inning because you thought maybe you had a 3-run lead or a little cushion. You just had to get the win. And now, it's hindsight, but looking back at the way that the bullpen has performed, what happens if you take Cowan out and now they score a couple of runs? Now Cowan's spent for the game. Now what do? Do you bring in Evans? So now you've used 2 of your best pitchers, a game that you could have just got away with one. So anyway, I don't think they left him in too long. I think that was the right move to keep him in and get the game won. Now, game two. Texas erased a 7-6 LSU lead with 5 runs between the 7th and 8th inning, and they wound up even in the series at 1-1 with an 11-7 win. Much like his start the previous week against Mississippi State, Luke Harrison, he walked in a run early in the game. He would then allow a second run on a ground out. So LSU was up 2-0 fairly early. And Anthony Ianson was cruising. You might not realize this. Anthony Ianson entered the 4th inning of the game. So it was the bottom of the 4th with 5 strikeouts, 0 hits allowed, and only 1 free pass. The split finger was really the difference to me. I had somebody ask me on Twitter, what do you see as the difference? Because I said, man, I love what I'm seeing. And it was that split finger. He uses it like a changeup, and he can throw it down and in to right-handers. He can throw it to left-handed hitters to move away. I thought that he was really, really good. And even after retiring the first batter he faced in the 4th, he gave up 3 straight singles, and then he got back-to-back ground outs, gave up an RBI on I think the third single, and then the next ground out. So they got 2 runs back. But again, it wasn't like they were clobbering the ball. He gave up 3 singles and he got 2 ground outs. So they tied the game 2-2. Now, the Tigers struck for 3 runs in the 5th inning. You had Jared Jones smacked an RBI double. You had Jake Brown pinch hit and kind of bloop one to left field. I think it was over the third baseman. It looked like it was going to be a routine pop-up to the left side, but that wind was blowing out really hard, and it kind of landed in between the left fielder and the shortstop third baseman. So Milam also got a sac fly. So you're up 5-2 in the 5th inning. And again, Ianson is going out for the 5th, and I'm feeling really good right now. Texas scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 5th to take a 6-5 lead. They sent 10 batters to the plate. It got kind of ugly. I would like to address that some people were talking about Ianson should have, he should have been taken out sooner, that he looked like he was getting tired, and and that he was losing his command. And I don't think that that's the case. If you look at it, when he went out for that 5th inning and LSU's up 5-2, he did walk Gasparino. So he walked the lead off batter. Not good when you got a lead. But then Tommy Farmer, he struck out looking. He went 1-2, struck him out. Mendoza then singled on a first pitch. And then that was it. They pulled Anthony Ianson. So it wasn't like he went out there and he was laboring. He couldn't find the zone. And he was throwing strikes. He walked lead off and then he was throwing strikes. So I thought he was good. I thought he could have probably stayed in more, if we're being honest. And again, it's easy to look back, but I think he probably had more in the tank. So I liked what I saw from him. I really did. Now, when he exits the game, you bring, I think when he went out, you had runners on first and third with 1 out, and you bring Connor Ware in. And I'm just going to tell you that I saw this wild pitch pass ball coming from a mile away. Connor Ware, this has kind of been his boogaboo, is the wild pitches. I want to say he leads the team in wild pitches. I was actually tweeting out when they were bringing Connor Ware in that Luis Hernandez has to be a wall back there with a runner on third, because this is something that Connor Ware struggles with. I couldn't even get the tweet out, and the ball was at the backstop, and they cut it to, I believe, 5-3. So now from there, I think Ware walks the next batter. You wound up bringing in William Schmidt. Schmidt gets a fielder's choice. So he's got 2 outs with runners on first to third. And this is when William Schmidt gives up the big home run to Galvan. And I know that right there, you've got first and third, 2 outs, Galvan up at the plate, and you've got a 5-3 lead. A lot of people did not like Schmidt pitching to Galvan right there. And it wasn't to me that I had an issue with him pitching to Galvan. Because look, if you feel confident enough to bring him in the game right now in this situation, man, go good on good. Like, see what we gotta know what Schmidt's got. My issue was the 3-1 fastball. Look, you first and third, if you're gonna, you're not. I don't like grooving a 3-1 fastball right there. I would rather walk him and pitch to the next guy with the force with 2 outs than that scenario right there. Throw your breaking ball. Hopefully you can land it, get a swing and miss, whatever it is. But that was the problem for me, was grooving the 3-1 fastball. Now, Schmidt, he faced 5 batters. He gave up 2 hits. One was a home run. He walked 2. He threw 38% of his pitches were strikes. And that is just like William Schmidt right now has got to be able to command his breaking ball, or it is going to be a long SEC season for him. Best thing they can do for William Schmidt is run him right back out there, because there is no denying this is the highest rated player to ever make it to LSU. He was the number 5 high school player coming out of high school. And if you look at like the top 10, I want to say 8 of the top 10 signed first round contracts. Okay. William Schmidt made it to school. The other guys, these are all first rounders that went pro. Schmidt's got the talent. He's going to be better for us. But right now, he's just having trouble commanding that big breaking ball. And he's got to have it. So your LSU's down right now, 6-5. And they answered right back in the bottom of the 6th. That was what's so beautiful about this team. Stanfield, big single. And then Derek Curiel, the freshman, hits a home run to left field, gives LSU a 7-6 lead. And even right there, you're like, man, they're just, LSU, you just can't get rid of them. There's too much offense, and you felt good about it. Curiel went 4 for 12 on the weekend. He had a double. He had a home run. And I don't know if you noticed this, but he made a couple of spectacular plays in left field where they would get a hit. Texas would get a hit that looked like a double coming off the bat. And he would go over there, he would slide, he would field the ball, get up and fire it over to second base and hold the runner at first. He did have the play in game 3 where he tried to come in and make a catch, but look, that's a hard play for anybody. I'm not holding that against him at all. So you're up 7-6 at this point. And I guess the question is, was not going to Kason Evans up 7-6 going into the bottom of the 7th a mistake? And I would tell you that now, after having Sunday under your belt, if you could go back in time, you're up 7-6, bottom of the 7th inning, up 1-0. You haven't used Kason Evans yet. Jay would absolutely go to Kason Evans at that in that spot. But once again, this is why I'm excited, and I think that there were so many good things, is because you learn this now. Going forward, you now know this, that Kason Evans can be stretched out. All right. But back to, wasn't a mistake not to go to Evans. Let me paint a picture here. Connor Binge had retired 4 straight batters up until the point of where things went wrong. Okay. So if you remember, after the home run, things kind of went bad on William Schmidt. He gave up another double. Connor Binge came in with the bases loaded. He relieved Schmidt and he got out of it. That was the 5th inning. He goes back out there for the 6th and he gets ground out. Of the first 4 batters he faced, 18 of his pitches, he threw 18 pitches, 14 were strikes. And out of those 4 batters, Connor Binge was in an 0-1 count, an 0-1 count, an 0-1 count, and an 0-2 count. That's the 4 batters he faced. And so the next batter, Jalen Flores, hit the home run to tie it 7-7. Okay. Jalen Flores was down 0-2. So we want to complain about walks and lack of command, but here's a guy, Connor Bench, who was in complete command. I mean, he just got beat by a really good hitter, Jalen Flores, who most people didn't think he'd be even back in college this year. He's one of the best shortstops in the game. But, I mean, Binge was very good. And I know the home run hurts and giving up the lead right there. And you know, they wound up yanking him. I think he gave up what he did after the home run. He went right back to work and got Galvan to ground out. But then he gave up back-to-back singles, and they pulled it. But overall, Binge, 72% strikes. And I always talk about this, but this is a guy who was in the low 50s, high 50s for strike rate. So that's a huge improvement, and that's very promising to me. I get it. He gave up the lead right there. But look, he was cruising. He was good. I just went over all the strikes he was throwing. So, yeah, going back, would you go to Case and Evans? Probably, but why would you in that situation when he was pitching the way he was? So, Benj is pulled. You go to DJ Primo. DJ Primo came in a pretty high leverage spot right there because you're in a tie game, and he struck out Casey Borber on 3 straight fastballs. So you've got 2 outs in a tie game. And he got ahead 0-1 to Will Gasparino. But here's the problem. The first batter, he throws 3 fastballs right down the pipe, and I think Borber took all 3. Gasparino, 0-1 fastball. He threw 1 too many fastballs because the next fastball. So you go 4 straight fastballs. The 5th pitch is another fastball. Gasparino drives it up the middle for an RBI single. Texas goes up 8-7, and LSU would never recover for the rest of the weekend. The next inning, Mendoza singles to right field. Pearson kicked the ball, into the corner right there, and he winds up getting the third. And you get a ground out. So you got 1 out and a runner on third base. And now Flores is up. And this is a situation where I actually think that bringing in Jacob Myers, I like this move. I know a lot of people didn't like the move, but let me tell you why I like this. You're down a run. Texas has a runner on third base right now, okay? And you really cannot afford for that run to come in at this point. You need a strikeout. You need a strikeout, all right? And if you get a strikeout, well, now you can go back to playing regular defense. Maybe you get a pop-up. You can bring somebody else in. Well, who do you have better at this point in that bullpen that can come in and, yes, he might walk somebody, but at that point you've got 2 open bases. No big deal. Not that you want to walk 2, but my point is I'm looking at this going, you need a strikeout, all right? You can't have a sac fly at this point. You don't want a ground ball in the hole. You got to keep Texas where they are. I like the move. And you know what? Jacob Myers comes in and he's throwing 100 miles per hour. 100 miles per hour. And Jacob Myers actually threw a beautiful pitch. I mean, it was low at the knees at like 99, and Flores hit it 3 feet, to the left of Milam, and the run scored. And what's funny is that was actually a great pitch, but Myers is most effective when he's elevating the fastball. So, like, if that pitch is up at the letters, I don't think Flores touches it. It was down below the knee, so it's a great pitch for a pitcher, but he did what he was supposed to do, and he drove the run in. And so, but in that situation, down a run, do you really want to go to Case and Evans in an 8-7 game? I Again, I don't know. I think maybe if Myers gets the strikeout, well, sure, then you go to Evans. But I think right there, you want to see if you can get out of it, and you want to see what you have with Jacob Myers. Look, you've got, at this point, you've still got 9 SEC series left. You got to know what you've got. So LSU didn't score again. Texas actually got a couple more runs. They win the game 11-7. So now game 3, Texas went to their top reliever, Ruger Riojas, who, again, I spoke about this for last year at UTSA, Texas San Antonio. Guy had 26 relief appearances. Not overpowering, but he can throw multiple breaking balls, good changeup. He got the start, and he got the win, 5-1 on the year, and he really limited LSU all day. I mean, he gives up 2 runs on 7 hits in 5 2/3 innings, only walked 1, had 6 strikeouts, and offensively, Texas just really wasn't fooled by Chase Shores at all. I mean, they hit him pretty good. They got out to a 5-run lead in the 4th inning. They scored a couple early, but by the 4th inning, they got out. Shores was starting to kind of settle in, and with 2 outs, he gave up a 2-run home run to Max Ballou. So 5-0 in the 4th. LSU actually got 2 runs in the 6th and made this a game for a minute. I think it was the top of the 6th, Brown and Milam. That's what it was. In the top of the 6th, Brown and Milam executed that little double steal to get that 2nd run home, and it ended the inning with Fry at the plate. And this is another coaching move that's probably being talked about. Well, rather than burn Ethan Fry, they kept him in right field. They moved Jared Jones to 3rd and put Jake Brown at first base. And Kason Evans goes in the game right here, and, man, he's dealing. He's dealing, and he gets a double play ball that gets us out the inning, and Jake Brown just, tried to stretch forward. I think he dropped the ball. It hit him in the glove. Maybe it was a hard stretch. I don't know, but that's an out. If we don't change, get Jared Jones off of first base, you're out the inning at 5-2. And the way Dylan Valantis has been pitching, I mean, he closed out two games against Mississippi State, closed out 2 more against LSU this weekend. So the freshman can really pitch. He picked up his 5th save of the year, working the final 3 1/3, no runs, no hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. He only allowed 1 base runner. It was oddly enough on like a 4-pitch walk. So they win the game 6-2. LSU drops the series. And the talk of the LSU fan base, I think, after yesterday was Chase Shores, and that should he be a starter going forward? And I'm going to give you 2 thoughts. All right. I want to read you something first. I want you to listen to these 5 starts. 3 2/3 innings, 4 runs, 5 free passes. 3 2/3 innings, 4 runs, 2 free passes. 4 innings, 5 runs, 4 free passes. 5 1/3, 5 runs, 1 free pass. And then 5 2/3, only 2 runs with 6 free passes. Does that sound pretty good to you? What if I told you that that's Gage Jump's first 5 SEC starts? His first 5 SEC starts, his average start was 4 1/3, 4 runs, and 3.5 free passes. And so I tell you that because Chase Shores, I've made this comparison, is very similar to Gage Jump, in that somebody freshman year was having a really good year, cut short by Tommy John, missed a whole next year, and now came back for their, the next year to play a really pivotal role in the starting rotation. And just like it took Gage Jump a little time to get heated up, we're seeing that from Chase Shores. All right. Now, I would like to see what Chase Shores does at home against Mississippi State. I hear everybody who thinks that Chase Shores should be replaced. He hasn't been good going back to the scrimmages. You know, that first inning's kind of bitten him, and then he's kind of settling in. I get that, all right? But I would like to see what he does at home against Mississippi State. I refuse to believe that a guy's throwing 97 with arm side run, who's 6'7", that with a really good breaking ball, his slider's really good. I refuse to believe that won't work. Okay. Now he's got to make some changes. His slider is just missing really badly. And he does have a sinker. I think that just like last year, I talked about this with Will Helmers. Put him out there against right-handed batters and let him just throw the ball down and in. Nobody's going to hit his fastball. And when he did that, he was really good. Same thing with Chase Shores. Let him throw the ball down and in. Right now, he's not getting any swing and miss. I mean, none on his fastball. His slider's good when it lands, but it's really outside to left-handed hitters. And another problem is against right-handed hitters. And against left-handed hitters, he has totally abandoned his changeup. There's nothing off speed that runs away from a left-handed hitter. So those things are a little concerning for me. But I do want to see him throw against Mississippi State this weekend because, look, you got to look at what you've got. And I still do believe, just like when Thatcher Hurd was struggling, the best version of your team was when Thatcher Hurd was turned it around. Same thing with Chase Shores, okay? Now, if he's not getting any better, yeah, let him come in out of the pen, maybe relief for an inning or two, and maybe he's even throwing 100 in relief and move Zach Cowan or so. But then again, then you got new issues with relief. We'll talk about that. But anyway, so if you look at I thought this was also interesting, was that overall the starting rotation for LSU against Texas, they gave you 14 in the third innings, 18 hits, 11 runs allowed, 4 walks, and 17 strikeouts. You know what Texas did? They gave you 14 and 2/3. So their rotation gave you one more out than LSU. They gave up 18 hits, the same amount as LSU starters. They gave up 8 runs, so 3 less runs, the same amount of walks, 4, and they gave you 6. They struck out 16. So Texas struck out 1 less. That is very similar to what LSU's rotation did. And yet, if you ask somebody right now, they would think the sky is falling, with Chase Shores and Anthony Ianson. And I want to talk about that because, what do you do with the rotation? Anthony Ianson has got to stay in the rotation, all right? There's just no question. I want you to listen to this comparison. And I tweeted this out. Outside of the runs allowed, I want you to hear how similar these two stat lines are. 6 games started. Both Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson have both started 6 games. Cade Anderson has thrown 34 innings. He's given up 25 hits. Ianson has thrown 32 innings, given up 27 hits. Cade Anderson in those 34 innings has given up 8 walks. Ianson's given up 8 walks. Anderson has had 56 strikeouts. Ianson 46 strikeouts, which is still like 5th best in the SEC. That's a lot of strikeouts. Ianson's got 46 Ks and 8 balls in 32 innings. 8 walks in 32 innings. That's really good. Cade Anderson has given up 5 home runs. Ianson's given up 1. And then teams are batting .205 against Anderson, .227 against Ianson. So if you're telling me that you think Ianson should be out the rotation, I completely disagree. He looked really good this weekend, in my opinion. And I just, that is, you want to talk about Shores? Look, I get it. Maybe I don't agree with it quite yet. But not Ianson. So like, what would you do with Shores? Back to that. I mean, do you move Cowan? I mean, Evans showed that he could extend. And it goes back to this whole thing where, like, well, you need your good bullpen guys at the end of games. But look, like, what good did it do? I mean, Evans preserved a 5-0 deficit this weekend. So, like, what good did that do, right? But I still think, looking back at the games, and this is why I'm encouraged. And if you go back to that 7-6 lead in game 2, knowing now that Evans can give you 3 innings, the way he looked, man, he was so good against that Texas lineup with the slider, the changeup. I mean, Evans is a really good pitcher. Those two guys, Colin and Evans, good as anybody. All right. But so, like, what do you do with him? And so I'm just of the belief that you go into this weekend, same rotation, but now you have a better feel for your guys. I think Benj, you get him back out there. That was encouraging for me. I mean, the improvement in strikes was really good, and he was smooth sailing there for a second until he wasn't, and gave up an 0-2 home run to Flores. And maybe you left him in a couple of batters too long after that, but I was encouraged. I mean, look, this is a big week for the bullpen, a very big week. I still like Jaden Newt. He didn't pitch at all this weekend. Y'all going to call me crazy, but I continue to be high on Cooper Williams. We have to have a lefty that can do something. We have to. And you saw the swag that he had out there. He was facing one of, was it Blue that he came in and struck him out? Or he got him out, and he threw a straight changeup. He threw a good breaking ball, and he faced one batter and he got out the inning. But that was encouraging to me. You still got him, though. You still, I mentioned Newt. I think Benz is on the strikes. I like what I saw. Rizzy. I mean, here's the thing. Your two studs, they're going to be okay. And what's crazy is that Texas, for the second weekend in a row in SEC play, they only used 4 relievers. 4. That's it. 2 weeks in a row. Starter, reliever, 4 relievers. And they won both series, a sweep, and they won. So they're 5-1 with 4 relief pitchers. So what does that mean to me? That means that, look, now that you're learning about these guys and you get them positioned the right way, you don't need, 10 of these guys to all of a sudden be lights out. You've got a couple already, but you do need more to step up. But we did see some strikes. Look, even Chase Shores threw strikes this weekend. His strike rate was really up there. I want to say it was like over 60. I mean, Anderson was up there 70, 72. He was phenomenal. Ianson was like 64. I think Shores was 61. So they threw strikes. So you can't kind of have it both ways. Well, we need him to throw strikes, and he throws strikes, and he gets hit a little bit. So I'm still encouraged by what we saw. The offense is still going to be the offense. They're good. So what's next? This week we got Tuesday, UL Lafayette. I think it's a big week, like I mentioned, for the bullpen. Some of these guys that struggled, William Schmidt, you got to get him right back out there. Connor Ware, it makes no sense why he is not better than he's been. I think he's got it in there. If you look at Dylan Volantis, who completely shut down LSU this weekend, he throws 91 with a breaking ball, and he was a heavy fastball. He wasn't throwing hard. Connor Ware, that's what Connor Ware throws. So he can be a weapon for LSU. Got to get him out there. Got to get some of these guys back going again. And then you're going to have a home series against Mississippi State, who, after being swept by Texas, went and lost the series to Oklahoma. So, they're licking their wounds right now. This is a good time for us to catch them. So that's pretty much going to do it for today. We will be back with a preview episode. Again, thank everybody for tuning into those. We've gotten a lot of people listening on Spotify and Apple podcasts to the preview breakdowns. But we're certainly, after tonight, watch tomorrow night's game, and then the series starts Thursday. So you got Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So try to put out the breakdown maybe on Wednesday of this week instead of Thursday. But as always, thank you guys so much for joining me on Inside LSU Baseball. We will be back here soon, and looking forward to a great week by LSU.